I'm honestly surprised with how the games went today, Nigel. Are you? We came into the match day kind of thinking after the first leg for these two games, maybe we could predict the winner to advance, but those games took me by surprise. How about you, Villa, tonight?
Are you surprised or are you happy? I think the word you probably better suited is happy that these teams gave it a much better go in the second leg. Aston Villa, I thought, were absolutely sensational tonight. Really unfortunate not to maybe get a draw out of that and take it into extra time. It was such an exciting game. It's what we want to see in the Champions League. And Dortmund, on the other hand, were the same as well with Barcelona. I think when you look at both games, we spoke so highly about PSG and Barcelona, but what we saw in these games, again now, are the slight weaknesses that we can see in these teams that we've raved on so much about how good they have been and how much they've impressed us. But really felt it for my old club today, Villa. And people
Did you think it was going to happen, Nige? Be honest.
This is my thing. I said that third goal in that first leg was the punch to the gut. I said if they came back to Villa Park at 2-1, I said they still have a chance. I said with the third goal, it becomes a mountain to climb. And if you look now back at that first leg, and if they didn't concede such a real poor goal, I think then we'll be having a complete different conversation. This game will probably be in extra time right now. This is the goal for me where it was just too easy. This is when you had to shut up shop and go back to Villa Park with 2-1. You're still in it. And even Unai Emery, the manager, said the right things you expect a manager to say, that the third goal doesn't change anything, but the third goal made a big difference in today. And when you look at the end of the game, the scenes of Luis Enrique and the Paris Saint-Germain fans, they were looking relieved. They were looking to say, you know what, whew, at least we've got through, because they weren't celebrating like we just got beat Aston Villa, we're in the semi-final. It was well done, job done. Just felt sorry for Aston Villa today.
I was wrong about Aston Villa.
Square one.
I was 100% wrong about Aston Villa.
Well, you weren't really in the end.
What else is new? We get it wrong all the time. We get it right sometimes too. I will say the reason why I was wrong, because I judged the soccer. I looked at the football match and I said, okay, PSG. I looked at the quality of the team. I looked at the quality in Aston Villa and I said, okay, the difference in quality is unbelievable. PSG is so much higher. They have better footballers all over the pitch. But that's not what football is about. Football is, there's so many ingredients to put a good team together. There's so many ingredients to win the Champions League. And one of them is intensity. One of them is pressing the football. One of them is the physicality of the game. And Aston Villa at home, emotions. PSG couldn't meet that, right? So it was my mistake, because I looked at simply the quality of the players of PSG and said, okay, this is an easy game for them. And also for the people out there that watched those two games and said, I can't believe Barcelona, they should have managed that game better. Or I can't believe PSG, Donnarumma had to make so many saves. They should have managed that game better. You've never been punched in the face. You've never been in a fight. You've never, because the famous saying of Mike Tyson, whatever it is, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. But the truth is, if you get punched in the face, your eyes go blurry, you get knocked out, different things can happen.
Have you been punched in the face before?
Yeah, a few times. Things change. The whole game plan changes. Like Kvaratskhelia, for example, today, playing as a left winger for PSG. If Matty Cash or Aston Villa are committing so many numbers forward at such an unbelievable rate, in this unbelievable pace, you've got to make up for that numerical disadvantage. And so now that pins you back further, and all of a sudden now you're defending. People at home go, oh, well, why are they defending? Well, because you have to account for those numbers that they commit forward. And they were willing to play an open game, and they went for it. Thought they had a fantastic performance, and I thought it was a shame that they didn't get something more from it, because they deserved it.
Obvious disappointment. But I'm proud of my teammates, proud of the club. We've come a long, long way. We were so close tonight, so close, and we just fell a little bit short. We had chances to go and take the game to extra time, but we've got to be proud of the way we came back against one of the best teams in the world, to fight till the end. Really proud of my teammates, proud of the club, and we want more. We want to be back here next season and compete for more, and we'll try our best to do that.
And to finish, you said PSG is one of the best clubs in the world right now. Do you think they're favoured after this experience?
Yeah, I would say so. Obviously, I've never personally played against Real Madrid or Barcelona, but in my career, they're the best team that I've faced. I'm getting old, 30, so I certainly wouldn't like to play against them every week.
Thank you, John.
No problem.
Well, he said he's getting old. He didn't play like that, did he, tonight? John McGinn was Villa's best player, both legs, by far. Do you agree with Tom, Nigel?
I thought he had a fantastic game today, captain's performance. I know people at the club still speak to quite a few people, and they said he's a great lad, really great lad, natural leader, commands the dressing room. That's why he's captain, and people follow him as a good leader that he is. I thought he was great today, but I also think that Marcus Rashford had a great game. And there's a few others. But as a captain, he leads. And what John McGinn does, a lot of people don't see that quality, is he drives with the ball. When he picks up that ball and drives forward, he makes so many things happen. And it's not just, as some people might look at it, oh, it's just athleticism, kick it. No, it's not. It's driving with the ball, close control, and breaking lines. And that way, teams have to adjust. And then if you've got willing runners, then you can make off that pass. And that's what he does so brilliantly well for Aston Villa. And just, he's a real good captain.
To add, I think there were very few salvageable moments from the first leg.
Yeah.
But he provoked the turnover that led to the Villa goal, that gave them somewhat of a chance. They led 1-0. It feels like he's such a warrior. Who was it that lost the ball? Was it Vitinha? He steamrolled Vitinha.
Yeah.
And he got into it with everyone, didn't he? Hakimi, he was
a big boy.
He was involved.
Yeah.
He's involved in everything.
That's a player you want on your team.
Good evening. I am very proud of everything we did this year in Champions League. And to get this level is the next step forward. I want to try to build with Aston Villa. Today, of course, we played 2 legs. The first leg we compete well, but was not enough. And today we compete better even, and we were close to combat the result. But the last step forward, still, and this is my only circumstance. I want to try to work hardly for our next process here in Aston Villa. But today, fantastic how we were feeling here with our supporters here. The environment, really the crowd was fantastic. They enjoyed, they transmitted their energy. As well, we played more or less, even we were 2-0, we were keeping the same idea on the field, and we were coming by the result. And the last 25 minutes with the opportunity to draw this round. But still a little bit more to do better to try to get it.
So many positives to take away, isn't there? Not just from, obviously, the disappointment of going out of the Champions League, but from the positive performance tonight in this season. But do you think, Grella, he does have a bit of regret of how that first leg played out and how the first couple of minutes of this match played out?
He makes the best point. I think the third goal is a goal where they switch off just for a second and they think, okay, they haven't had a good performance. They didn't touch a lot of the football. They were not really great in possession. The goal comes from a turnover, right, which they're probably happy to have. But at the end of the day, in the Champions League, the margin's so small. So when you lose 3-1 and you got to go back home, now it becomes like a really difficult task. Versus if they go back 2-1, I don't know. And in the second half, they should be proud. Again, he's got a taste of Champions League football with Aston Villa now, with this group that he's working with. And he's like, I can't wait to get going again and make that little jump. But to me, the field, I was saying, the field was like this, in one direction, into the mouth of Donnarumma and PSG goals. So they have a lot to be proud of and take away from it. And the objective now is for them to get into the Champions League spots in the Premier League.
They don't have the easiest run in, though, to close the season. They've got Newcastle, Manchester City, Fulham, Bournemouth, Tottenham, and then finishing with Manchester United. And then in the midst of all that, Nigel, they've got that semi-final against Crystal Palace in the FA Cup. That's not an easy road in.
No, it's never easy, but the reality of it is now they're out of the Champions League. You can just focus. It's tunnel vision on the Premier League. Newcastle, for me, are one of the real informed teams in the Premier League. That's going to be a tough call. They've got a game in hand. If they beat Crystal Palace, they can push themselves all the way to go third in the Premier League. So, for me, they can focus on it. The FA Cup as well is something that they could win. But the progression, I love. And listen to Unai Emery there. You could see the appetite, the hunger as a manager and what he wants to do. Wants to really establish himself at Aston Villa. Talks about Marcus Rashford being a lot more happy there and how we're happy with him. And there's
next
a process.
year also.
Next season already. So I love the enthusiasm that he has for it. And for me, let's not forget, he took Aston Villa from when Stevie Gerrard was sacked from just above the relegation zone to Champions League to this now.
He knows an elite manager like that knows that his team needs to be better. He wants to take Villa up to the next gear. And that's what it's going to take to maybe progress into a potential semi-final. But they got to get to the Champions League first.